Welcome back to class, dear students. In this lesson, we are moving to a new section entirely, continuing on our AI-enhanced Web3 front-end development, where even if you have never coded before, you are taking from scratch to learn about blockchain, then start with front-end Web3 front-end development, covering HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, and using API. So these are essential things you need to get started, and in subsequent course, we're now taking the knowledge of JavaScript and explore JavaScript framework like React, Next.js, Svelte Kit, and so much like that to solidify your knowledge. So now we are in the second section. We have discussed the HTML, as you can see, and I believe you have done your course, your this capstone project for HTML, so which will begin to build on continuous, and it's recommended not to skip this capstone project as they help you to build your portfolio, because most time the mistake a lot of people do is these things are meant to be like a part of your CV, a part of like your profile, your portfolio, to market yourself, to get jobs, to get gigs, to get partnership, to get grants and things like that as a Web3 developer. But if you claim you're a Web3 developer, you cannot show a single GitHub repo you have created yourself or contributed to, all those things like that, you have forked, you have done all that, then I don't think a serious employer or partner or freelancer will hire you. You understand my point? So that's why it's so essential you don't skip them. It helps you to solidify your knowledge. Now, that being said, let's get introduced to CSS. And like I used to say, if you already know all about this, feel free to skip, but I will never skip what is essential for beginner in any of the programming university content, so that beginner find it helpful, and if you are intermediate or pro, you can skip, but for beginner they must not miss what they need to know. So now, welcome to captivating world of CSS, the artistic language of web design. In this lesson, we'll dive into the fundamentals of CSS, exploring the vital role in shaping the visual aesthetics. For those venturing into Web3 front-end development, a thorough understanding of CSS is essential. Like I've said earlier, that in the previous HTML, we learned about the HTML, and now we are going to the CSS. So what do you at the end of this lesson, you comprehend the fundamental principle of CSS and its significance, understand how CSS works in tandem with HTML to create visual appealing web pages, and recognize the basic syntax of CSS and how it controls the design and layout of web development or web element. And at the same time, we also use AI tools, because I've told you in this age and moving forward, learning, developing, and doing anything relating to development, excluding AI, I'm telling you, are only deceiving and haunting yourself. You don't want to do that. So we always encourage you to embrace AI, and that is how this lesson was built, with AI enhancement. How do you use those AI tools for each of these things you are learning? That's why the major thing is just for you to learn the basics of these languages, and then AI will help you with a lot. Then when AI gives you something, you can understand it, you can ask it to troubleshoot, to adjust, and it also helps your prompt, how you tell the AI to create the content, because you understand the language. So that's those things you will learn. So what is CSS? It's an acronym for Cascading Style Sheet. It's the language that web developers use to stylize and design websites. It allows you to set the visual properties of HTML elements such as color, size, layout, and many more. If you recall, while we are doing I think under this capstone that I was doing some for you, we tried to ask the AI to help us, put up color and things like background color, but we couldn't achieve it. Why? Because it says it straight that HTML is just like structure. And from the HTML section, we have been using a kind of analogy that it's like you have a house, you are building a house. So the structure, the building, maybe in a country that use cement, bricks, and all those things, you have everything done, but the actual beauty does not really come out, even though the house is completed. But the actual beauty is now given out by the painting, the styling. When you add one color to this, do this, it's now bring out the color. The color is not actually what did the building, but painting the house actually bring out the beauty of the structure. So that is what is happening. CSS is not actually the structure or doing the majority of those things. It is actually helping you to bring out the beauty in your structure with some styles and some things like that. So interaction between CSS, why HTML form the structure, like I've said, CSS help you to enhance it. Think HTML as the skeleton of a web page and CSS as the attire. So giving it a distinct look and feel. CSS will target HTML elements and define their presentation. As usual, we still get to the practical, but you need to understand all these basic things. So when you now talk of CSS syntax, we've learned about HTML syntax like HTML tag, HTML element, and things, HTML attribute. Now, you talk about CSS rule consists of selector and declaration. So CSS syntax is majorly about two: the selector and the declaration. So the declaration is now divided into two declaration block, and you will see it here. That's why I've given an example. If you click here to display full code, you can see this is your selector. Selector means it targets the HTML elements you want to style. So you want to style H1, which is like the heading, H1 or H2, that all these headings should be blue color, so that the other ones will be white or black to differentiate it from the other content. So when you look at that, you first need to target it. You need to tell CSS and HTML that, okay, this is the specific HTML element or HTML tag I want to style. I want to apply the following style to. Now, so that that's how it's able to differentiate from other elements that constitute your web pages. Now, you have this. Then the declaration contain one or more declarations separated by column. So that declaration now is encapsulated inside a block. That block is known as declaration block because it contains the CSS declaration. So the declaration is now what you now say the color, font size, font weight, font height, background color, background. You understand all those things. Then you begin to give their like value, property and its value. So this is the property, the color. Then what's the value? Should be blue. This is the font size. What should be the value? 20 pixel or 50 pixel or 10 pixel. You understand? So a lot of all those things, you still see them practically as we move on. So you see, that's the basic things you should keep in mind. That CSS syntax is just two: the selector that is helping you to pick the specific HTML element you want to apply CSS to, and the declaration that tells what type of styling should be applied, which will always be in property, and the value of that property then encapsulated in a block called declaration block. So types of CSS, like I've told you, there are a lot of things to learn about these things. That's why there are always resources I had up here. You should take time to read them. It broadens your knowledge. There are a lot of things we won't be discussing that you may find helpful. So especially when you want to CSS, it's like core on its own. Some people are just experts in it. So I don't call myself an expert in CSS because I don't spend my whole time on CSS. But there are some people, I'm telling you, they spend majority of their development time on CSS. So those, if you would like to have more deep understanding, make sure you go through all those resources. They are essential and helpful. Now, there are types of CSS. We have inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS. What are inline CSS? You see them. Look at this. This is an inline CSS because this directly, if you remember, this is what? This is a P tag. You see, this is the opening tag and this is the closing tag. And P tag represents paragraph. So this is a paragraph and evolve directly adding style to HTML element using the style attribute. And it's a quick way to apply style, but it's generally less maintainable and scalable compared to internal or external CSS. That's it. So this is easy. You can see it. It styles this specific content that is within this paragraph, opening and closing P element, tag and element. You see it. Every content within it will be styled with this color. Look at style, the color RGB like black, red, and all those things. Then the font, which is the pixels you want to do or other ones. So you can see it now. Then we have the internal CSS placed within the style tag in the head section of an HTML document. It is useful for single page styling. So why this style specific element? Like now, if I had another P tag, if I had another P paragraph without this style, it will not automatically transfer this style. So if I want to use it in like 10 paragraphs, I will have to repeat it in each of them. So that's why it is less maintainable. What about if I want to use it in 100 paragraphs throughout my project, throughout my DApp? That becomes very cumbersome. For any reason, if I want to change anything or later adjust the color themes or anything, this becomes stressful. So that's why it's not scalable and it's not easily maintainable. So you usually use it when you want to test some things before maybe you apply, but it's good in case you come across them, you know what they are, why they are there. Now, the internal is placed in a style tag. This is an example of internal CSS. So you can see it that, remember, the head element of the CSS contain the metadata of your DApp, of your D website. That's decentralized website. So I will mention that as well. Is that DApp or D web or the website? So inside of your decentralized website or decentralized app, whatever you put in this head is not meant to be displayed. We have learned that in the HTML, that, for example, everything that is displayed here, let's go to inspect the element. You can see we have the HTML, the head. Whatever it is in this head is what you are seeing here, like introduction to. It won't show here in the content. If we made this shows because we also created an H1 that shows this, but whatever is inside only show inside the tab as well. So we'll go through, as usual, practical steps by step, but it's good as beginner. I want you to have a basic and solid fundamental understanding. When you have those, forget about the complex one. You have AI. That's the fact. AI can help you in all of those things. But when you don't understand the basic of the language, then you will not find the AI as helpful as they should be. Now, you will see we introduce this tag, call style, opening and close. Then everything, remember our declaration, the selector and the declaration block and the declaration. So this one now, guess what it's targeting? It's targeting the body element, which is this. And remember, it's the body that displays every of the content of your HTML. Everything goes in here. So if you want to target to create the background that we were not able to create in this previous HTML project, this is just a simple way to create it. Background color, and then you can use this number color code or color directly, like red, blue, brown, green, and things like that. So all those are optional. You choose the one you prefer. So you can see it turn everything in here. The background changes. So like I said, you still see it in action, but it's good to identify them when we are beginning to work on them. So we have external CSS stored in a separate file with a .css extension and linked to an HTML document using link tag. So now what you begin to see is this becomes so cumbersome. Then also when you want to have in your dApp or the web, and imagine you're having about 10, 20, 30 pages or 50 pages on those your dApp or your the web decentralized website. Please tell me how easy it is for you. Each time you create the page, you have to copy this style. Then if there's any time you want to change anything, then if you have like 20 pages that you have created or 50 pages, which is not unusual, at least like 20 pages or more, about contact, all those things and many more with your dApp, then if there is a reason for you to adjust this background color or whatever other style you did, then it means you have to go and open 20 pages each time or 50 pages. Then the more it goes, the less efficient it is, the less maintainable it becomes. So that's why external CSS was introduced. Like, okay, let's separate this CSS from HTML. So CSS has its own file. It is not just about making the HTML clean alone, but it instantly makes the code more manageable, more maintainable. Why? Because this style now, all this style will be moved away from this HTML, and then you can link it in those 50 pages or 100 pages you are creating with just the link tag. And once you link it, if you have anything to adjust about them, you only need to deal with a single file. Even if your pages, you can imagine platforms like Twitter, like Facebook, like Instagram, like a lot of them like that, then they want to change some colors, or Google, they want to change some colors, and then they have to go to, the thousands of pages, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pages on those platforms. But there, with an external CSS, they may just have a bunch of like 3 or 5 or 10 controlling the whole hundreds of thousands of pages. And once they adjust it, it takes effect in every other ones. So it's easier to introduce new design, do a lot of things because of this style that is external compared to. So all these are good, but it's not scalable. That's what brought about the external, which ideal for styling multiple pages with consistency. So how does that look? Let's see. You can see now external CSS file usually save at .css, as you can see it, .css. Remember when we are dealing with HTML, we use .html. So for you to identify your browser, your IDE you are using for development, other things, to know and handle and process this well, it needs to be saved as .css. So that CSS shows that, oh, this contains a CSS code and files as a CSS document. So that's, you will see the HTML. You see that in this HTML, this same HTML, instead of this, we created a file called styles.css, and then this one we still learn it. It's comment. We just paste the same body content, we paste it here. Then we replace this style with this link tag. These are void element or self-closing tag, HTML tag. So it doesn't need opening or closing. It's just using the opening and it's cool. So then remember attributes, it has this, well, that's related to what? Style sheets. So it's like giving a more details about what, think of it like alt tag for image, yeah, that give you more description. Then remember the hypertext reference or hyperlink reference, which points to the file in image in HTML. So in this case, since you have indicated that link, which type of link? Style sheet. Then where is it located? Global style.css. So most times you will see people just using styles.css, but mostly I use global styles because you will likely come across, because most times you will not end up developing a full stack dApp or the web, doing this basically for yourself. HTML basic, no. There are a lot of tools, CSS tools, framework libraries, and JavaScript frameworks like React and all those things that already combine all these things for you that will be using. So most of them use global style, because now you can also have specific style for maybe like home page and some other things. But when you know that the global will contain style that control things that are generally available across the, like how the header look, how the footer look, how buttons look, and things like that across. So for consistency, then we look at CSS comment. That's it. You can see this is a comment. We've learned the importance of comment. It's so essential for you to make sure your comment makes code manageable, maintainable. Other developer can understand. Even browser can have clearer idea or other tools of what your code is about. So this is how you comment on with this compared to the HTML comment. This HTML comment, and we can also have multiple lines as well, the same for this. So if you want multiple line, you just break this particular one to another line, and then you can put in as much. You will see them as you work. Then we have something we call CSS specificity. CSS specificity. And what is it? CSS specificity determines which CSS rules applies if multiple rules target the same element, HTML element. It is crucial concept for understanding how styles are applied and overwritten, however you call it. So now, when you talk about the CSS specificity, it's talking about the hierarchy of CSS application, because look at what we have said now. What about if this same HTML element P, I style it here, then I end up calling it again, maybe doing another style for P. I already done it inside there or inside this external file. You know that in such a case, it's like I'm giving multiple instructions for what only one occurrence can happen. So I said, whenever you find P, like this background now, I said P, then in bracket, whenever you find P, make it red. But this one here, I said make it blue. You understand? And maybe external, I said make it green. So we have green, red, blue. And it's not possible to have the three, because it's not that we apply. One need to override another. So it's not like conflict of authority. Who is now the boss here? Who should we eventually bow to? Who should we, succumb to the authority? That's where specificity came into play, to ensure to remove those confusion for browsers and engines interpreting CSS. So the hierarchy is like inline CSS within HTML is the boss, is the top. So now if I did here green. The P here should be red and then blue. Sorry, blue here. This is what we used. Let's say blue color, then here let's say red color and here green in the external. Now this we try to be applied. Once it's about to apply, it will see this internal and say no, you are the boss. It drops it and apply this. Then this is about to apply, discover no, there is another style in there. Then drops, get drops, and this will be finally applied. So it goes like that. This is the boss. Inline first, then internal first, then external. And when you look at it, it makes sense. So that's why it's not good practice to style inline, because later on, even if you have external and you want to adjust it, it will always override the internal or external CSS. So you don't want to put it there to avoid issues. So internal and external styles with ID, and there are different ways you style CSS which you will learn. So one of it is through classes, through ID, and a lot more. So but ID is more. If they conflict, the ID will be the boss, will be the authority, and others will bow. Then followed by classes, pseudo classes, and attributes. You will learn about all these classes, pseudo classes, and more. Then before element, then element selector. You understand? So element select. So that's the order. Override you. Inline style have the highest specificity, typically overriding external and internal style. Among selector, ID hold more weight than classes, which in turn outweigh element selector. So if I do ID, do class selector, and do element selector, this is it. Like once I selected this, the body, this is an element selector. So when you are doing the ID and all those things, you will still see how you target. We will still learn about them in other lessons. But here now, I'm just introducing you to the basic rundown of those things you need to understand about CSS. So it's give you the basic So example, as usual, we try to look at example. We have the existing code from our previous HTML section where we couldn't, style it. So this was what we've got, and from here now we can now start the practical and also from next lesson. So let me pull up my folder. In this case, we are working with course demo, the live one. Then we've done HTML. Let me clean this so that you'll be able to see it. So I can just copy and paste this. That was what we used for the HTML. So I just want to copy it and make this CSS live folder. So it should be 2. Good. So inside there we have the DPU front end, where we now have, okay, let's rename this also as CSS. Good. So this is what we have. If you have followed the previous lesson, you should have something like this. Remember when we created the media and added some images? Yeah, that was the screenshot I did from the lesson, and we used there to learn about image tag and HTML, inserting media and all those things. So this was the front end we used. So I want to rename this actually. Let's remove the HTML. Yeah. So remember the extension is HTML. So let me open in terminal. I want that folder to be open in VS Code. So you do short code this folder. Yep. So we have this now. You can see it, the media, the video we also added in. Then inside here now, this was from our previous lesson, if you remember. Then remember we use go live. So here, remember to launch this, you use your go live, run live server, which we have set up in the previous HTML section starting. Good, you can see, so that we don't need to be refreshing. Once we change anything, save, it will auto refresh and add it. Save again, you see it auto refreshes and add it up. Yep. So this was what we were like achieved, because we couldn't color, we couldn't, reposition those content and a lot of other things easily like that. So now we want to start with pulling in the CSS. So here now, this is the CSS we've got that we want to work on now. So first, let's see it. Let's put this. We are introducing the style. So remember, it should be inside the head, so it doesn't show up in the content. Let's put this star, and immediately I do that, you can see it now. If I go here, and then refresh or save, sorry. Do you see it? That instantly things is getting shaped, things is getting organized because of the style here, which is it target the body, target other things you can see here. And for you to know, I can change this to a color like this, save. You see, because it's the body, target everything that has to do with the body. It targets everything that has to do with the body as you have seen it. So return that to white, so you can see it the same. I can also clear it and write white, so you see it. If I pick this, can still you see, I can either be RBG, it can be the normal color code, hash something exact, I think it's a decimal something. Then it can be just direct color or something you want. You see it now? So you can start changing the style, start giving it the beauty instead of just being plain. Look at how it arranged everything now compared to before. So that's the major aspect there. Let's see. So that's just it for now. And then you can also move this to external file, which is, we have seen that that's what is recommended. So this same content, which is what you are seeing there, we can move it. Let me copy it from there. You can move it, create a file, so you create a new file and call it, let's call it global stars.css. Then we save this. So if I change this, this one has been changed to green, but this like red, brown or purple or something. So now when you look at this is the one that takes effect. That's what we are saying, though we have not linked it. So before it can work, we need to link it over here. Do you see it now? That the AI tool we are using already give us suggestion, but inside there it got it wrong. It should be /global star. Yeah. Do you see it? That's, but if I comment out this color, you will see that the other one coming from the external, remember specificity. Do you see it? It took over, because even though there is body style in this place, it doesn't have background. So actually it's the background from the external that will be implemented. But as it's coming, once it meets and see there's another style for the background, either for the same color or different color, it will implement that one, because that has more higher authority of execution than the external. So the external, the same if it is this inline. So if it is inline as well, it will honor the inline over this internal. So henceforth, we won't be using either inline or internal, because you need to start using, the essence of the course is not to teach you every of the basic of everything, no, but essential basic that you need to get started as a Web3 front-end developer and you're becoming a full Web3 developer. You understand? So now handling both front-end, back-end, like blockchain, smart contracts, and more. Let's clear this off now. So we can clear this, remove the style. Though in some lesson you may still see it, but eventually we permanently eventually switch to, you can see it's back to this, because we now have this. If I comment this out, you see, this is all we've got. Save this, then we got it well styled. So I think those are the essential basic. Even if you're a beginner, since you've gone through the HTML by now, you are gradually getting much familiar to all this. So that's just it. And understanding CSS is key to creating attractive and interactive web interfaces. As you progress in this course, you will learn more advanced CSS techniques and apply them to your Web3 development project, enhancing both the functionality and aesthetics. Oh, I still used to almost break my teeth to pronounce that. Aesthetics. Wow. Of your application. So remember, like I told you, these resources are super essential. Please try your best to go through them and learn more and advance your knowledge. And remember, if you get stuck, you need support, you should join our Discord. But for lesson courses support, I don't answer in Discord. But the Discord, you meet and collaborate with other Web3 developer in DPU community. Also, that's where you get up to date, almost on daily information. Whatever is going on in the community, officially we also announce it. So you won't get that here. But here, the comment is meant for specific lesson. For example, if you have a question relating to this lesson, don't go and ask it in the next one or the previous. Ask it specific. If it's not specific, we may just delete it or not respond to it. So and take time, please, to at least try to go through some previous comments. So at times, the question you want to ask might have been asked by other students ahead of you and gotten helpful answer. So why repeat the same? You may just confirm, okay, this also helped me. That's a different case. You reply to that same comment. It's a different case that, okay, more people are finding this helpful. But coming to repeat that same question may not get answered. So help us to help you in terms of creating helpful support. So that is it for this lesson. We'll learn more, diving more deeper into the CSS syntax, selector, combinator, and all those things that we use, all these things together. That is it for this lesson. I remain Solomon Foske of the Programming University. Keep the programming spirit high and alive. Your assurance to succeed eventually and the long run as a developer. Meanwhile, please always do good to humanity with any knowledge you have, including your programming skill, and not evil, to make the world and the universe a better place for us all. Thank you. See you in the next lesson. Peace.